And so we are looking at slope-intercept form, and this is for linear equations, so straight equations of a straight line. So slope-intercept form. Now, as I said, a linear equation is going to be any equation with variables only raised to the first power. So you're not going to see any exponents on your variables. So no x squared, x to the fourth power, anything like that. It's always just going to be an x or whatever variable that you have. And with our slope-intercept form, we talked about slope last time. Remember, that's our rise over run, or looking at the rate of change of the equation. And then the intercept is referring to what we call the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the y-axis. So the point where the line crosses the y-axis. And so if we have a graph, remember the y-axis is this one right here, the vertical axis. Now our slope-intercept form looks like y equals mx plus b. The x and the y are just our variables, or they represent a point on the line. The m is our slope. So that's one thing that we talked about how to find last time, is the slope, and that's going to represent this m value. Whatever that m value is our slope, our rate of change, what we rise and run. And the b right here is what is our y-intercept, where our graph crosses the y-axis. So if I have the equation y equals 3 over 2x minus 2, we can identify the slope of this line and the y-intercept of that line, which then can help us graph it, because that's one of our goals to do today, is to graph this equation. So our slope, remember we said, is the x value. It's what's connected to the x. So in this case, right next to the x is this 3 over 2. And so that is our slope. The y-intercept is the value that we add or subtract here at the end. It doesn't have the variable next to it. So it's a -2, so we write it just like we see, and it's a -2. We can also, and I'm going to skip over to our note packet because this has an equation on it. We can also look at writing the equation for a graph. And so here is a line, and if you will at least write this part down, the first thing that you want to do is find the slope. We want to find the slope of the line. Then we're going to find the y-intercept. And from there, we can write our equation. Now the slope, remember we just picked 2 points that we have on our line, and we count what we do to rise and run. So I'm going to start at this point and go to that point. So we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and we went up. So it's a +4, so that's our top number of our slope. And then we go over 1, 2, 3. And it's a +3 because we go to the right. So our slope is 4/3. Our y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So here's my y-axis. It crosses right here. And I just have to count what that point is. This is 0, 0. So 0, -1, -2, -3, -4. The y-intercept's -4. And so we can write our equation. Our equation is y equals m, which is our slope, 4/3, x minus 4. Because this is a -4, we just write it as the -4. Another way that we could write an equation is if I give you a point, if I give you 2 points. We could have to find the equation between, we'll say 2, 1, and 5, -8. So I want to find the equation in between those two. We do have a few steps that we're going to follow to do this. And I'm going to write those down. First, we're going to find the slope. The second thing is fill in what we know. The third thing is going to be to plug in a point. And those are the points that are given to us. The fourth thing is to solve for b. And then all we do is we write our equation. So let's try this out. The first thing that we have to do is find our slope. And now remember, slope, we talked last time, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so we'll label these x1, y1, x2, y2. Can you hear me? Okay. It said I just got a notice that my microphone wasn't working. So again, we filled in our slope. We filled in what we know. Now we're going to plug in a point, and it doesn't matter which one that we pick. We're still going to get the same answer. I don't like negatives, so I'm not going to use this one. It doesn't really matter. We could use it. So let's try this. So y is 1 equals, well, we know our -3. X is then 2 plus b. Now we're to our fourth step. We're going to solve for b. So we multiply this out. 1 equals -3 times 2 is a -6 plus b. Well, we got a negative number anyways. Oh, well, it's okay. Now we're solving for b, so I'm going to add 6 to both sides. 1 plus 6 is 7 equals, those go away, b. Our b value is 7. Now we can write our equation. We go back to right here, and all we do is plug in the b. So we do y equals a -3x. It's a +7, so we write +7. There is our equation. All right, one other thing that you're going to be asked to do is to graph. And so we're going to graph the equation 2x, y equals 2x minus 1. We want to graph y equals 2x minus 1. So let's make an x and a y grid, coordinate plane. We should label our y, label our x. Generally, you won't have to do this. I'll already give them to you. I like to go by 5 or go up to 5. That should give us enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then go in the negative direction. Try to keep your tick marks fairly even. You don't have to be perfect, but And then remember, this is a -5 here, and this is a -5. That should be enough to get us going. Our first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start at y-intercept. We're going to start at our y-intercept. If I look at this, remember the y-intercept's that number that we add or subtract, so the -1. So I go to -1 on the y-axis, and I put a point. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use our slope to find other points. So our slope is the value in front of x. So it's a 2, so that means rise 2, go over 1. Rise 2, 1, 2, go over 1. You can do that a couple times, 1, 2, over 1. We can also do the opposite, so we can go down 2, but then we have to go 1 to the left as well. And then the third thing is connect the dots. We connect the dots to make our line. All right, and that concludes our notes. So remember, what we're going to do is you're going to be on to Schoology. Click on Algebra. The week of November 2nd. And then your slope intercept classwork is right here. And then you will click on the forms. On these, there's a couple of these type where you see like these grids right here. You're finding the slope and the y-intercept. So in this case, I can help you with this one. The slope, remember, is next to the x. So it's a 2. So we go down to here, the slope is 2. So it's this one, it's not these two. And then the y-intercept is 4. So I go slope is 2, y-intercept is 4. All I do is click that one point. So it's kind of like you have to, it's like a grid check. So you go over, the slope is 2, the y-intercept is 4. So you click on that. You don't have to click on anything here or here. It's just that one right here. There's a couple more that are like that. Here you're given a slope and a y-intercept, and you have to find the equation that matches it. There's a couple of those. Here you're given the 2 points, and you're going to write the equation. And then you have a couple where you're given a graph, and you have to figure out what equation matches that. What questions do you have on any of this? All right, then at this